me up, and they telling me I should leave that fire alone. Well, the more they tell me, the more I'm holding you close. I could never let you go. Miss Social, y'all are coming home, I will see you again. All day through the night and dream.
All right, just to add to this discussion, and welcome back, just to add to this discussion concerning the doubles, right? But Beanie would have said a number of things during that interview, and he would have spoken also in glowing terms when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago, because I believe that he was asked about his most favorite place, and he would have said, yes, Jamaica, but the second place, it's Trinidad and Tobago. So, and a lot of Jamaicans see Trinidad and Tobago as their next home because it's so similar to Jamaica. All right, so when we are rushing out there to comment and so on, just remember, because I continuously speak about one Caribbean, and I truly believe in that, you know, one Caribbean, one people, because we are so similar. Yeah, so let's be reminded about all of that before we, right? Let's do that. All right, so moving on to another serious matter. So as you know, the elections within the Public Services Association, they are going to be held on Monday, the 10th of March, 2025. So after your party and fete and wine and wave and all of that, at the beginning of the month, right, you have the PSA elections on Monday, the 10th of March, all right? So as you know, we have been really looking at these elections. We have been interviewing candidates for these elections, yeah? And this morning we do have with us presidential candidate and former PSA General Secretary, Mr. Nixon Callender. You know Mr. Callender. Mr. Callender, thank you very much for coming again. This is not the first time that we're speaking about these elections, but again, I think it is important and is of benefit to our viewers and also the membership. Indeed. To continuously speak about these upcoming elections. What are your concerns this morning, Mr. Callender?
Well, good morning again.
Yes.
Good morning to the national community. It's good to be back on. July the 3rd last year was when actually I announced my candidacy, thinking that the PSA elections would have been held when it was constitutionally due in November of 2024. I had to go and report that matter to the Registrar of Trade Unions, and then the executive, Leroy Batiste and others, would have set the elections skillfully and strategically during this time of Carnival. So that didn't go unnoticed. But again, we are out and about campaigning. Thus far, our nomination process went very, very smoothly. Persons would have been posted in the Express and their positions. So public officers and the rest of our PSA members ought to know by now that there is an election going on in the PSA, and that is on the 10th of March. It's not so much of a concern. The team that I lead is not no new team. I have been in this race since 2013. Then 2017, well, that election was injuncted. And then we have 2020. And all would have seen a vast decrease in voter turnout. And we would want all our members to understand, especially those in the critical areas which are undergoing changes right now, that you would not be able to have that change unless it is you come out and vote. We also recognize that this year is also a national elections in this country. But your work-related issues, which are dealt with by your executive, now you have an opportunity to change or to keep the executive in there. So our concerns remain the same. We are still on 2013 salaries. Our job evaluation exercise has been stalled. The SRC did its work, went through a job evaluation, And they saw, well, everybody saw what the outcome of that was. But our job evaluation, what started before that, has been stalled. And I am on record several times as indicating to our membership, especially in the civil service, that those who you have inside there knows nothing about the civil service.
Yeah.
When you look at Leroy Baptiste, he comes from the Water and Sewage Authority. Well, he's gone. You have Felicia Thomas. She comes from the Water and Sewage Authority. Avinash Maharaj, the Agricultural Development Bank. You have Kellon Wallace, the NIB. They come from statutory bodies. And therefore, this is not surprising to me that this critical issue of our job evaluation is stalled. So that still remains our concern. And we would want to go in there and treat that.
But before we move on from that point of the job evaluation, you feel that the persons, the names that you would have called, they don't understand this job evaluation and the process, because I suspect what you are doing is saying, look, you all are to blame for this stymied sort of a process that we are seeing here.
Exactly. I have sounded that warning since the CPO announced that the job evaluation began. Our own began way before the SRC. So the outcome of the SRC with permanent secretaries, government ministers, and other top management in the public service has been completed. Right now, we have public officers processing the arrears for these top managers, and we are still on 2013 salaries in 2025. This is as a result of poor management of the PSA. I had hoped that my word did not come true, because I keep saying, as long as you maintain poor management or bad management in the PSA, this is what is going to happen, and we aim to treat with that. But on the campaign trail, we have discovered several things. Well, not so much me, but the rest of my team, because this is the only time that we have access to our members throughout our bargaining units. And I can tell you, Marlon, the atrocities in our bargaining units are several. I want to say something this morning, and people could continue to quote me after. We don't live in a nice world. The world is not nice. The job and the work environment is not nice. We have very, very dedicated and empathetic permanent secretaries, heads of departments, CEOs, general managers. But Marlon and the listenership, there are very evil management out there. During the course of time whilst I was out of the PSA executive, I have been sitting down with members, showing them how to write, how to fashion their grievances against these individuals. And the atrocities are many.
That's a very strong word that you're using there.
Yes, it is many. It is atrocities. We have members right now in offices. When certain heads of departments pass, their ulcer acts up. There are permanent secretaries, heads of departments right now, which persons are being graded very good. And then when it comes to them to be countersigned, they send it down to fear. And then you see they say, no increment. And that person has to battle that on their own. Well, I'm helping them. I've always been helping them. But this and all these things were allowed to take place because of a weak union.
It's poor representation.
Poor representation. But moving forward, especially where that is concerned, I'm a very transparent person. Very, very transparent. And I do what I say. And once inside of the PSA, we'll be setting up a special fund in the PSA, separate and apart from filing allegations of misconduct and having these individuals investigated who are committing these atrocities. We will be assisting members in going after them in their individual capacity. The buck stops with Nixon Callender and my team. Our sole aim and objective is to protect and advance the interests of our members. And that is about being bad mind focused. And this is why we coin our team this year. Public officers, stay focused. We got work to do, plenty work to do. But we have some atrocities to deal with. And therefore it will be very public. It will be very public. It won't be hidden. Because those members have suffered enough. For those who are managing their departments and their organization in the way that they should do it, the PSA will be kind with them and will work with them. But for those who have committed those atrocities, they must face the penalties for it.
But do you know if the current executive is aware of some of these atrocities that you have spoken about? And if so, to me, if the PSA has not addressed these atrocities, then it would be of no benefit to the executive of the PSA.
Well, I will tell you something. The executive of the PSA is not about dealing with grievances. You see, anything that they say could give them a little 10 or 15 seconds of fame in the media, yeah. But we have core grievances. We have core grievances. Imagine if it is that a head of department or permanent secretary wants to destroy your career. They hit you at the performance appraisal. They hit you there. Supervisors are given good grades. And because of you taking a stand or you are sticking to what you're supposed to do, they don't like your head. And right now, I am investigating a matter where it is I'm dealing, where it points in racial discrimination. And we'll be able to prove it, because I intend to continue on. I have been advising workers for several years. I didn't just sit down. Not being in the executive don't mean that you cannot use your skill to assist members,
But what you are alleging here this morning, it's really abuse, and that some workers are working under severe pressure.
It's not only abuse, Marlon. It is evil and wickedness. And, I mean, people might find I am sounding harsh. But again, as I started off by saying before, we are not living in a nice world. And when we look at the type of appointments that are being made to head these departments, when we look at them and we hear about their character and how they have members, especially the contract officers, they have them on eggshells, short-term contract, because a man had to bend his back and say, well, because he wants his little job at the end. We have vacancies for drivers, messengers, all these in these ministries. And guess what? They have persons, contract people on short-term contract because they have the delegated authority. I am telling contract workers, I will say it again, in the public service and all our bargaining units, your right is to be a member of a union. The PSA has the RMU for the entire public service. Anyone in the public service, except the daily paid. Once you are monthly paid, you could be on short term, you're temporary or permanent. Be a member of a union, because not being in a union is like driving your car on the priority bus route without car insurance.
Yeah.
Dangerous
but what
thing.
are the options for those employees who you claim atrocities are being perpetrated against them? Are there any other options?
Well, I will tell you. They can go civil. And in one matter, I have an attorney looking at actually criminal actions. Because when we operate, especially those in the public service, we operate under laws and regulations. The Public Service Commission regulation is law. Civil Service Act is law. When you breach any of those acts, you breach the law, and then you commit what you call misbehavior in public office. And there is one in particular that I have an attorney doing a research on, that whether win, lose, or draw in this PSA election, once that opinion comes back, we are going to take out a fiat against that head of department. And I'm very, very serious about that, because of what has been going on with that individual and one of our members. When I came back from off of leave, thank God I came back, because why? They didn't have any confidence in the present executive. And then when they thought that the executive would have been helping them, what the executive going around doing now? interfering with how people vote in our national elections by directing them to mainstream politics. This is the madness, and this is why we are open book. Since 2013, we have been planning to come into the PSA and change things, but it's not just change, it's meaningful change. People are suffering out there. Our members are suffering. Our members in MIC, our members in WASA and all these, WASA, Torrent Country. Look what's going on in the TTRA. Our members there are confused. They don't know what to do. Deadlines are being placed on them to make a decision. You have the TTRA bombarding them with all kind of literatures. And what's going on with the union? They are walking around telling people who to vote for come in the national elections. It's craziness. So it is all out mess. But again, we remind our members to stay focused. There are a lot of noise.
Yeah.
A lot of noise going on. And this team is not an all-fours team. Yeah. We are committed and bad mind focused.
Yeah. What's the latest concerning the negotiations, salary negotiations? I know that the current executive was and is totally against the 4% offer that that was put on the table, and then subsequently the finance minister would have spoken about a 5%, and the executive has had the position, well, here's what, that's not the way that negotiations should be carried out.
We are also against the 4%. But what they are against and what we are against is two different things. The 4%, I would say it again, is not the value or the worth that our bargaining units put out. When you look at MIC, they churn out intelligent, brilliant, educated tradesmen and tradeswomen. When you look at NIB, the kind of work our bargaining union does up there, the massive civil service. Remember, this 4% is not just being shoved down the throat of just the civil service, It's every other bargaining unit, and we have over 20 bargaining units. That is not our value. However, the public service, our bargaining unit, is not evaluated or follow the methodology as tutor, fire, prison, police. We are on different methodology when dealing with wage negotiations. They were evaluated years ago and put under market survey value. We are still under retail price index. Mm-hmm. Time has run out. While the past president and executive, and even this president, continue to be dabbling in mainstream politics, our wage negotiations remain barren. I have been clear, we will be settling all wage negotiations where it can be settled. For those bargaining units insist on not accepting it, I have said it to the comrades, we will go to court. It's right down till we lie down. But the outcome or the judgment emanating from that, it will be decided whether you made the right choice or not. But at this present time, we are clear. We will be settling all wage negotiations. And we have other matters, and it have all kind of allowance. It have many other things to be negotiated on. It's not just the wage negotiations. And continue our job evaluation. There are other bargaining units where we will have to bring proposals for them to be re-evaluated because of the time that has passed on these people and their jobs. We'll be proposing to those managements and those other bargaining units of other job evaluations to kickstart.
Yeah. What is the feeling on the ground as you meet with members of the Public Services Association? What is the feeling on the ground from them? What are their concerns, if any, about the way that the PSA is also being run?
There's a lot of bitterness. Persons are disappointed, disenchanted. They are also angry. They are angry at the employer. They are angry at the state. They are angry at their union. Some of them, thinking that we are in the executive, they will lash out against us. But, our skin is thick, back is broad. But what we are telling them is using the same analogy. Mm-hmm. If you are not in a union, it's like driving your vehicle on the bus route without car insurance. However, persons are legitimate in how they are feeling. because the union has not been acting out its role in accordance with its mandate. And therefore, what this talk about change, I mean, it's very rhetorical. But the only way that you could get out of where you are at now, you have no choice but to elect competent leadership. I've been doing this for years. You see my team there. Every one of them has crack shots.
Yeah. But the question could be asked, if there is such concern by public servants, and public servants, they do have a history of being vocal, they do have a history of protest, why are we not hearing from the public servants?
Yeah, because they are disenchanted. I mean, Marlon, we had 10 years, well, now it's 14 years of one type of leadership, no leadership. Persons would have gotten accustomed to that. Persons would have gotten accustomed just not hearing from their union. And the technology is here. We aim to bring back the PSA even in the palm of your hands by utilizing the technology that is available to us. For years now, since in 2011, I would have gotten a grievance and case management system proposal passed in the PSA. And that was look at where we are at right now. Persons need to know what is going on, but they need to know it on an individual basis. They want to feel that the union is treating them individually, and technology brings that.
Yeah.
Nothing takes away the human touch. Mm-hmm. And how do persons feel their union presence is in their representative at the branch level, at the ministries. Right now, there is hardly any ministry representation, because the representatives in all departments, all our bargaining units, supposed to be a representative also who manages them. So if you have weak reps, it means that you have a weak executive. If you have corrupt reps, it means that you have corrupt executive officers, because it's about at the bottom come up. So for people to be able, for workers to feel their union, you must have competent representatives on the ground. And this is why we would be continuing our training and development, sending our reps to Cipriani Labour College, beginning probably within this year, by having them go there. And then opening the PSA, the Public Services Association Training Academy, because the civil service and our bargaining units are very unique. It is not like other industries. So therefore, a unique type of training must be done for them. I have an army of reps to send out there, and they have work to do, plenty work to do.
An army of reps. Mr. Callender, I just have about 2 minutes again. Anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to continue advocating to the membership out there, stay focused. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of noise going on. The noises continue even from since 2013 to now. Mm-hmm. But there is too much at stake right now. Yeah. We have too much at stake. We need about 4,500 votes, minimum, voting for PSA United Sentinels. So members of the PSA, our bargaining units, WASA, ADB, NIB, go out there and vote. And let's start working. We have plenty work to do.
Yeah. Nixon Callender, it's always good to speak with you. We wish you all the best in the upcoming elections of the PSA, which are to be held on Monday, the 10th of March, 2025. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, before we go to our break, we do have this image for you. It's an image of a homemade doubles from Dougie. Yeah? Dougie's homemade doubles. The doubles looks homemade for true, Dougie. Huh? What is that, Dougie? A piece of onion? What is that green on it? Shadow Benny? You think so? All right. All right, Dougie. Have a good breakfast with that, Dougie. I don't think I want any. We're going to a break, everybody. Coming back.
Raise the temperature higher. Coming in, you're coming in closer. Make the thing catch your fire. It's all on the ground, all over the counter. Yeah. With that pot on the fire. Yeah. It's your cocoa tea.